Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the C.I.C. Lounge. I'm Peter.
I'm Jen.
And today we're going to be talking about the latest episode of Lower Decks, Season 4, Episode 8.
Caves.
And guess what happens in this episode? We're in caves.
Wait. Let me guess. We're stuck in a cave.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happens.
So this is a common trope in Star Trek.
Yes.
Being stuck in caves for various reasons. Sometimes they're intentionally stuck in a cave to, like, say, starve out the crystalline entity or hide from an enemy. You know, sometimes they're trapped because of an earthquake or some devastation. You know. Lot of cave episodes. A lot of interesting things happens in caves, and so like Lower Decks takes an approach where they tell 3 different stories in addition to the one that the A story of the episode where they're stuck in a cave. How 3 of our 4 heroes have had cave encounters and how each one of them panned out, and playing into the different kinds of tropes that come in to the cave.
Yeah.
The cave story, being trapped in a cave. And what is it about caves? Have you spent much time in caves?
I mean, when I was in Scouts, I did a lot of hiking, a lot of camping, and we did find a few caves, but they're not like you would see in TV shows.
The only cave that I have been in that was probably anywhere remotely like the perceived caves in Star Trek is Ape Cave, which of course is the lava tube from, I think it's Mount St. Helens or Mount Rainier. Mount Rainier.
Oh.
You've never been to the Ape Cave?
No.
It's like a mile long.
Really?
Yeah, because it's a lava tube. It was, lava flowed through it and flowed out, and it left, of course, basically a tunnel.
That's cool.
So you can hike up to the entrance and then hike back down, or go the opposite direction, hike up in the cave. It's easier to hike around the cave and then come back down through the cave and make it a loop.
The biggest cave that I was ever in, it was like in I think it was in South Dakota, and there's a cave system up there that you can go and take a guided tour in. It's a huge cave system.
Yeah.
And, railings all over the place. There are like offshoots where you can do spelunking and stuff like that, but I'm 6'7" and I have mild claustrophobia, so caves are not really my thing. I mean, the giant cave was fine. I was okay in it. It's like going into a building, but
you do fine in Ape Cave, and I'm surprised as a Boy Scout you haven't been to Ape Cave, that they didn't take you there.
I mean, I might have gone as like when I was in Cub Scouts, elementary school or something, but if I did, I don't remember.
Yeah, you'd have a good time because it's not a claustrophobic. I mean, it's
Okay.
20, 30 feet high in some spots. I mean, it's pretty big. That was I went to Abe Cave as part of a college geology course that I took.
Of course you took
Geology 101.
Nerd.
It was Rocks for Jocks was the course I took because I needed like a physical science credit. So yeah, and I had fun in that course, just learning the basics of geology. But part of it was a field trip to Ape Cave, so
nice.
that was interesting, being in a van full of college students and going on this long hike through Ape Cave.
I bet it didn't smell very well, did it?
No, a lot of junk food, a lot of
BO.
A lot of hygiene, particularly on the way back.
Sweating
after hiking,
hormones.
Because I mean, it was probably like in October or something that we went, but damp.
Yeah.
Inside the cave, it's always damp, and it's always cold inside the cave, regardless. It can be 90 degrees outside. It happened to be a decent day, so I don't think it was raining when we were hiking, but. Yeah, anyway,
I digress.
The joys of going through caves, and always in Star Trek they end up on an alien planet where there's a massive cave system that they can hide from dangerous enemy, or they can barricade themselves in, or they're hiding from the Jem'Hadar or whatever. It's like
there were a few episodes of Deep Space Nine where they were hiding in caves from the Jem'Hadar.
Yeah, so like the only time I think the cave systems like that really exist are in mines. Like if you're actually
mines,
like mining, it's not really a cave then, it's a mine. But that's where you'd have like elaborate tunnel systems. Unless you're talking about rock dwelling aliens
Yeah.
who either tunnel themselves or who are like rock creatures that tunnel through whatever.
Well, yeah, like the one civilization that Voyager comes across that there was like a nuclear fallout or something like that, and
Yeah.
so they built silos into the ground, and of course they were all like suffering from radiation poisoning.
Yeah. So so Star Trek likes to use the trope of there's these caves and they're all over the place and they're abundant, like, you know, and they're conveniently located for an escape route. Like they deliberately put colonies on worlds that are in question near cave systems so they have a place to escape to.
What I liked about this, because it played with that trope, and I mean this again, we've talked about this several times with this show. They just feed on the tropes of Star Trek. So we had the cave trope, and then we had the flashback trope. And what I've never really liked about the sci-fi genre when they do these episodes where they talk like, you know, they're having an inquisition or something like that, and they're talking about all these things that have happened in the past. Stargate, SG-1, Atlantis, they both do this like very heavy-handedly. And it just shows you images of previous episodes. But with this episode of Lower Decks, instead of doing that, they just give you new scenes of stuff that has happened to them in the past, you know, because we don't see every mission that every one of these characters goes on. And so we get to see Rutherford give birth to a baby. So that was like, what was that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie? Junior. So that was fun. And then we see Boimler making friends with a conspiracy theorist.
Yes.
And the dreaded Delta,
Delta
shift.
Yeah.
With Mariner bonding with them.
Yeah. The thing you were mentioning, it's called a clip show. And
Yes.
and
Thank you.
I don't know that any show, network or streaming or otherwise, could get away with a clip show today. And clip shows were a way for a series who had, say, like a 22 or 25 episode run where they'd be in, and you'd find the clip shows are normally towards the end of the season where their budget is running out, where they want to take budget from one episode and put it in another because they want to make one episode a little bit bigger, a little bit grander, but they don't have the funds for it. So a way to save money is, well, don't shoot a whole episode, just shoot like 25% of an episode that takes place like in a boardroom or a courtroom, and then use clips, stuff you've already got in the can from, you know, that's already cut and polished and already, you literally just go back and steal pieces and scenes from previous episodes to create this narrative. And I hate them.
I hate them too.
I hate them so much. Like, I'm okay if they want to reference like one incident and maybe show it from a perspective that didn't air in the original episode. That I'm totally fine with. But no, I've seen that clip. I've seen that. I know that happened. I remember watching that episode.
Yeah.
You don't need to tell me again that happened. I already know it.
Especially nowadays with like the availability to binge watch these shows.
Yeah. Like, and again, you're absolutely right. Like back in the day when most people didn't buy the box set VHS or DVDs of their favorite series for those few series that actually released them. We're
dating ourselves right now.
Right. You know, the only time you could watch an episode if you missed it was if you either recorded it on a VCR. This is again before the days of DVR. Recorded it with a VHS tape or you caught it on a rerun.
Yeah.
So clip shows did have a sense of purpose in this, in that, you know, it was a way to recap a story that maybe you missed because you missed it in the normal lineup. But again, today with streaming, with DVR, with the availability of content, like you could not get away with a clip show. Like
being able
an audience would
pause,
just not
rewind, slow-mo, all that stuff that we did not, unless you, like you said, unless you VHS and recorded,
which I did.
I've done that too. You just back then you couldn't do what we do today.
Yeah.
So I'm totally with you. That's just not going to happen these days, unless they do it cleverly like Lower Decks has done.
Yeah, so this had the feel of a clip show, but it was scenes we'd never seen before.
Yeah.
And the thing I liked about it is it was a way to explore these different cave tropes or scenarios with the different characters in a more concise way. Because I think them being trapped in a cave, just as the A story, wasn't strong, wasn't worthy of 25 minutes of screen time. So finding a way to, well, what if they're trapped in 4 different caves, which is basically what happened.
Yeah.
Like we tell being trapped in 4 different scenarios, and you can add the 5th being trapped in the turbo lift. Tendy's contribution to the story.
Oh, I love Tendy.
Oh, it was great. It was great. And this kind of plays into a concept that I've been reading up a lot on, is the power of storytelling. Because towards the end of the episode, you're led to believe that whoever is trapped them in this cave, this sentient algae or whatever it's supposed to be. We later learn, of course, that it's the Vandorians or something that have trapped them in there.
I had to rewind it the first time I watched this episode because I kept thinking that he was saying Andorians, and I'm like, they're not shapeshifters.
No, they're not. The Vandorians. So like, so it turns out to be some elaborate like moral question issue or something in the end, which I didn't really kind of understand where they were going with that, because I'd never it's a new species, at least new to me, so
Yeah.
maybe I don't know if the Vandorians had appeared in some other iteration of Trek.
Well, it was in the Delta Quadrant, so I was thinking maybe it was in an episode of Voyager, but I don't
I think
remember.
it was the Beta Quadrant. I think Boimler said they were in the Beta Quadrant.
Well, he said Delta.
They say Delta?
Yeah.
Anyway. So I wasn't familiar with the Vandorians or whatever, but like at the end, like, you know, until the green one tells her story, you know.
I need to hear the green one story.
Right? Like that part, and the power of storytelling, and how it's not just the presentation of facts or an events, but the way in which we tell stories and share stories and hear stories. And like in this case, the power of storytelling is actually what saved them in the end, because they were sharing their stories with each other. They were bonding over shared stories, and
they were getting mad at each other. Over
they were getting mad at each other, but that storytelling ended up saving them in the end, you know. And like I said, they ended up bonding over storytelling, and how much of human interaction is story. You know, like you walk into my house and I've put a camera in your face today, and there's a story there. And I tell you the story of why I'm holding a camera when you walked into my house to record this podcast. You know, like, you know, every time people come together, they're not just literally talking about the weather. There's a story behind it. Like everything we do is based on story. It's how we remember.
You're right.
Exactly.
We're just a big old story.
You know,
and it's being told right now.
And
right
there's
here.
so many different ways to present story. You can be, you know, like a lot of us do, like scrolling Instagram, and each picture tells a story, or series of pictures tells a story. You know, you can look at a photo, whether it's an Instagram account from one of us, or a movie star, or a friend, or a family, you know, and you can look at that image and there's a story there. And sometimes you can tell what the story is just by looking at the picture, and sometimes you need a little more information, like tell me more, what's going on here. Facebook posts, you know, TikTok. I mean, TikTok is huge, because TikTok is like literally bite-sized stories. It's like you're constantly snacking on. You are. I am not on TikTok, but
I'm
like
addicted to it.
But people
It's
who are
bad.
on TikTok, it's like they're constantly consuming and feeding that need for story. So because I'm actually reading a book on story, right, about how powerful story is, and the ancient Greek Plato and his views on storytelling and whatnot. So for me to see this and see that, it's the power of storytelling that actually saves them in the end, I thought was pretty on the mark for where I am right now. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Life imitates art, and art imitates life.
Sure.
I would say one of my favorite lines from this episode was Mariner. She always has great lines.
Of course she does. And Tawny delivers them so well.
Oh, she does. So, okay, you want your I told you so's one at a time or all at once? As they're shooting the moss that's trying to
Oh,
eat
of
them.
course, of course. And I love that like lower decks can do this, you know. They literally call out the fact, okay, we're going into this cave and something's going to happen, you know,
Right.
like
Well, Mariner just like when she finds out that the four, like she's all excited that the four of them are back together. You know, they're sitting there, beta shift reunion, and then when they tell her what the mission actually is, and she is like, and as she's stepping into the transporter, and it continues her sighing and wailing
yes.
through the
Oh
transportation.
yeah.
I was
Yes.
just like, this is perfect. I love this show so
Yes.
much.
Yeah. It I I I understand why conventional Star Trek, and by conventional I mean live action,
Yeah.
uh, can't take itself to that extreme. So
I wish they would just every once in a while.
sometimes I wish they would just like fuck this again. Like seriously, who didn't see this coming? Like this always happens, you know. And I'm remembering that line in Galaxy Quest. It always stops at one. The self destruct.
That's right.
It always stops at one. Huh. You know?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Oh man, that we need to record that show. That was
That is like my
that
all-time
movie.
favorite like movie. Like I resonate and relate so much to
Galaxy
Galaxy
Quest.
Quest.
Miners,
It's
not
real!
miners.
I don't get it. Does the rolling around help? See, you got your shirt off. Like it's just so much gold in Galaxy Quest. I could go on and on about Galaxy
So
Quest.
many of those, so many lines from that movie live in my brain rent free. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yes.
we'll have to do a review on that one. Of course, it's just going to be us quoting the movie the entire time.
Pretty
but,
much.
You know, whatever.
Yeah.
I did miss that this episode didn't have any lead-ins to the mystery ship.
I noticed that like this was pretty standalone episode.
Yeah.
Like it could have taken place other than, you know, the reference that they're JGs now.
Yeah.
This episode could have been slotted in anywhere.
Yeah, I do like I like and I don't like the fact that they didn't have anything else. Like I enjoyed that it was a standalone episode. That yeah, like you just said, you can put it anywhere in the season, but at the same time, you know, we only have 2 episodes left,
Yeah.
and I want to know what's going on with this mystery
Right.
ship.
Right. Well, hopefully we'll find out next week. We'll get a taste, and then
Yeah.
maybe the season finale will have some reveals for us.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
Well, with that, thank you everybody for joining us for this episode of the CIC Lounge. My name is Peter,
I'm Jen.
and we'll see you next time.